It's not recording.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I see it now.
I'm putting this in there. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Kelsey Riggs' first NBC Charlotte Sports
thanks
podcast.
for finally letting me be a part of the NBC Charlotte Sports podcast.
It's just timing, man. You're just never available. You're super busy. You're always scoring the big interview.
That's because you always make me work weekends that I'm never here, and you won't work weekends with me.
What's your title?
Reporter / sports
Weekend
anchor.
sports.
Anyways, this is why we don't work together often, because this is what happens. Good to see you, Nick.
Yeah, that's been great. Okay. Welcome to the NBC Charlotte Sports Podcast. Super special draft day edition. Panthers hold the 16th pick in the draft. So we brought somebody knowledgeable in to talk about it. Kelsey
referee.
Kelsey Riggs.
Yeah.
Not you. No, but Kelsey Riggs. We brought somebody. So who do we tell the folks who we've got?
Oh, I got you. We brought in the one and only Josh Klein.
I'm putting all of this in the intro.
We brought in the one and only Josh Klein from the Roaring Riot, the Riot Report. Josh Klein, been covering the Panthers for the last couple of seasons, does a great job. And so, heck, I figured we needed a man in the room that actually knew what he was talking about when he talked about Panthers football. So,
Okay, we're editing that out. Cut. Edit point. Cut.
Copy.
All right, enjoy. Josh, the Riot Report, mock drafts.
Yes.
You do them.
Yeah,
Tell
we
us
do.
more.
Yeah, so the Panthers have the 16th pick in the draft.
Really?
Which is pretty exciting. Yeah.
Fantastic. Not really, but
good players and bad players have been drafted at 16 through history. We have done some mock drafts on the site. The problem with mock drafts just in general is that it's like you're mocking against something that hasn't actually happened, so it's like you're hypothetically trying to think of what the other 15 teams have done, and then you're like, well, I think we're going to trade up in this mock draft.
right. I mean, do you take possible trades into account, or are you just like they're going to pick 16 no matter what?
No, I think trading during a mock draft is even dumber than doing a mock draft.
That's what I was going to do in mine. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade the 16th pick for the number one pick this year and the number one pick next year. Boom. I'm a genius.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's like, I think it's good to get a sense of like what position other teams might need, or it's good to figure out like if you're one of those like Albert Grier, Adam Schefter, those kind of like insiders that have sources with every single team. It's great to read those because they're like, oh, we know that the Bills like Josh Allen, or we know that the Lions like
And they
whoever.
might think such and such team is willing to make that move.
Exactly.
Or thinking about it.
But as of me, like I only know what the Panthers are thinking, and I don't really know what the Panthers are thinking. I have a general idea of what the Panthers are thinking. They're thinking logo at midfield.
Yes.
And,
Right.
Beer fest at the stadium.
Yes. Don't
Next
spill any
week.
beer. I'm excited for that. I'm actually gonna miss that. I'm gonna be in New Orleans.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not that sad about it. But, so as far as like mock drafts, I think you're basically looking at like the top 5 guys that everybody talks about. Brian Burns from FSU, Andre Dillard, the tackle from Washington State. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see either Jonah Williams or Jawan Taylor, both tackles. You'll also see sometimes Clelin Ferrell, Montez Sweat. Those guys like are all kind of thrown in there. Me personally, I think they have their eye on Jerry Tillery as well. It's Notre Dame. He's kind of a inside-outside guy, plays defensive line, but he's really, really good, and he, I think, can fill a lot of holes in their defense on that defensive line where they were admittedly pretty terrible last year.
I think the things that are so interesting about these mock drafts is as much as people make fun of them, people love them. I mean, it's just something about this time of the year that gets people excited about the next season. And while there are, 15 different combinations that can happen before, well, way more than 15 different combinations, but at every pick, I just think that the drafts are funny. The mock drafts are funny because it's just another reason that people get excited about it, because you really, like you said, have no idea what's going to happen, even if you're someone like Albert Breer, because maybe you know what they're thinking, but do you really know what they're actually going to do in that scenario?
And you don't know how much of it is a smoke screen or whatever else. Mm-hmm. So your, as you said, general knowledge of what the Panthers might do would be to pick at 16?
Yeah, they are going to select at 16 or trade up, or
Interesting.
there's another option. They could trade back. So it's going to be one of those three. I can tell you that.
Well,
for a fact.
they could just not turn in a card, I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be the fourth option.
I think the scenario where they trade back is actually something that's kind of interesting because there's not a huge, I mean, while they definitely need help at defensive end and on the O-line, there isn't, I feel like if they traded back, then they could get more bang for their buck in those next couple of rounds, and there's still really good people that they could get in the second and third round.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting.
I agree with you. I think trading back to me is always, I feel like that's always the most palatable thing because then you're just kind of kicking the can down the road. You're alleviating pressure. The draft in and of itself is impossible. There's only a 50% success rate for first round picks. So that means to me that the more chances you can get, the better. But you're looking at somebody like Ron Rivera, Marty Herney, that maybe doesn't have a few years to go forward, so they can't really trade. Even if somebody came to them and was like, hey, I'll give you every single first-round pick we have from 2022 until 2030, if I'm Marty Herney, I'm like, I kind of need to win right now or else I'm just setting up the next guy, Nick Carboni, to be the GM in 2022. You're up to that job, right?
Horrible idea.
I think you would do really, really poorly. I just want that to
Can I read off of the teleprompter?
I'm going to go on the record and agree with you.
Wow, okay. Well, let's do some dumb stuff before we get into some more meaty stuff. Let's do our own mock draft in which we just make fun of the draft. We mock it. Josh, what's the most insane thing you've seen or heard, probably from fans, about what the Panthers should do with their first round pick?
I think the craziest thing that I saw was in the last week we've seen some reports that the Panthers are both likely to trade up and to trade down. They've been labeled as one of the most likely teams to do both within the span of like 2 days, which is hilarious to me. I think trading up would be a terrible idea for the Carolina Panthers if we're talking about like what would be a bad thing to do, because they have a lot of holes in this roster. They need help on offensive line. They need like a backup quarterback, a backup running back. They could probably use another wide receiver. They need all kinds of defensive line help. They don't have anybody starting at safety. And so the idea that they would just like go up and be like, we got Nick Bosa, like that that seems like such a terrible
just
idea.
Emptying all of your capital to get one player and fix one need.
Exactly. Same thing for me, and this is going to make a lot of fans upset.
Yes.
Like, the idea that we would
fire him up.
The idea to go out and sign Eric Berry is so crazy to me. He's a great player
when he plays.
He's terrific. 3 games in the past 2 seasons. Like, that's less than Matt Khalil, who we all hate. So, I just...
We saw how that worked out, too.
Yeah, exactly. That we gave a lot of money to a guy that's often injury prone, and then, he's and now we're still paying.
Right.
Safety might not be as big of a need. I mean, like, it would be far down my list of, like, need.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think it's probably, like, third.
Okay. It's higher than I would have it.
Yeah.
But I get that. I mean, you don't know what they're going to do with the free safety spot.
Yeah. Right now, it's just like Rashawn Golden shrug. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm really good at
Or he could play Nickelback, which is like, well, those are 2 far different things.
I just don't think he's showed us enough now to be confident that they don't need to go out and get, I mean, they don't need it in the first couple of rounds, I don't think. But I'm with you, maybe 3, 4. As far as needs go, I feel like safety's pretty high up there.
Well, safety is one of those things that you can get it in like the 3rd round and be good.
Yeah.
Like Ronnie Harrison. I get everybody confused at this point in the draft, but Ronnie Harrison last year, Justin Reed, who everybody thought the Panthers were going to take at 24, lasted until the 3rd round, and he started like 16 games for the Texans last year. So he is, you can get a safety that's good in the 3rd round.
Which team will make the dumbest mistake in round 1 of the NFL draft?
Got to be the Raiders, right? I mean, that's the...
I think it'll be the Cardinals if they take Kyler Murray. I'm not on board.
Oh, you're not a Kyler
I'm not
guy?
on board.
You jumped off. I feel like a lot of people are doing that now.
I never jumped on.
I feel like everybody's getting off the Kyler Murray.
The interviews kill me. I think that's a huge red flag. And just, it might be sexy for Kingsbury. No, nothing intended there. To
see
get
what you
the
did
guy
there.
He's probably wanted to coach since the kid was in high school in Texas. But man, I just don't see it holding up in the long term, if at all. And they never gave Josh Rosen a chance. But we're not here to debate the Cardinals. So the Raiders.
I'll talk Josh Rosen all day long. Give me a Jewish quarterback. Let's get him out there on the field.
If they want,
Mazel tov,
if the Cardinals intend to trade Josh Rosen, would he be somebody the Panthers should look at?
I'm all about it. I said it like 2 months ago on the one-day contract, which you guys have both been on.
Yes.
But it's a little
This is a home and home series, so that's why you're here.
I said that Josh Rosen is a guy that I would be going after all day and twice on Sunday. The 77th pick, the 100th pick. Josh Rosen is a better player than you can probably get with one of those guys. Then you don't have to worry. You put him on the bench. Maybe he plays during the preseason. He already has a year of NFL seasoning. And what I saw was a guy that you put in the worst possible situation, and you're like, oh, I can't believe you failed. Oh, I buried you up to your neck in sand, and you couldn't lift weights. It's ridiculous. That's maybe the worst metaphor I've ever had in my life.
All right, so the Raiders, who have kicked their entire scouting department off-site because they don't trust any of them,
right,
seems likely that they would probably make the dumbest mistake in the draft.
Oh, yeah. They want probably a fast wide receiver. That screams Raiders to me. Is like DK Metcalf.
Debo Samuel or DK.
Ooh, I like Debo Samuel. That's a fun one. Everybody's like, they're like scrambling in the truck to get the graphic for him. They're like, we don't even have it. We're saving that for Saturday.
Kelsey, you got anything else for a mock draft, or should we move on?
No, let's do fill in the blank.
Go for it.
So, Josh, if the Panthers draft a quarterback, they feel blank about Cam Newton.
Unsure. I think it kind of depends, right? There's a bunch of caveats, but there's only one blank.
Right.
If they draft a quarterback in the first round,
where they draft them.
Yeah. I think the second round is kind of the sweet spot of where it's like, if they're drafting a guy in the second round, then they're convinced that his shoulder is not healthy. And that, to me, will tell you everything you need to know, is whether it's Will Grier or one of these, like Clayton Thorson, Jared Stidham, I think that you can get those guys in the fourth round. I think one of Will Grier you're probably going to have to draft with the 47th pick, which...
If he even, I mean, you might have to trade up to get him
exactly.
if you want him.
And if you thought trading up in the first round to get Nick Bosa was a bad idea, trading up in the second round to get Will Grier is an even worse one. So I think that would be, and it's a shame that that's how we'd have to learn about how they feel about Cam Newton's shoulder is on draft night on Friday. So
I feel like the only caveat to that, though, is since this draft quarterback class is not that good, and we talked about it a little bit, Nick, if you're gonna get a quarterback that you think could be good enough to back up Cam if he needed it, you have to go with this draft class high up. So does that say as much about Cam's shoulder? Because you can't get a guy in the fourth round that could be a good backup quarterback like maybe you could with next year's draft class, you know what I mean? So they have to get somebody higher that could actually make an impact. But I don't know, I'm not totally sold that if they get somebody, then let's throw in the towel on Cam and we're worried. I feel like they saw last year it didn't go well when they didn't have anybody. So
no, but I think if you're gonna put Will Grier back there, then you're just kind of, what are you giving yourself, like 2 more wins, 3 more wins, and it's like
maybe you don't know.
Maybe you're doing that.
That's asking a lot. I think
so. That's maybe you get 1 to 2 more wins better than Kyle Allen. So I just don't know whether it's going to be. I just don't know whether it's a good idea for me.
Kelsey, do you want to ask one more thing before you bail?
Yeah, sorry. Let's see. Where
are you going?
I've got to go do this show. Nick's scheduled you right when I've got to do a hit, so maybe I'll pop back in at the end. So
on the news?
Yeah, the news.
Mention my name.
Okay, I will. I'll find a way. I got you.
Drop your story again.
We're talking about NASCAR.
Oh, NASCAR.
Yeah, NASCAR at 4. I'll find a way to work it in. I haven't written it yet, and it's in 8 minutes, so it's fine. You don't think the Panthers need this, but should they actually pick a blank in the draft? I'm going to answer it first because I'm leaving. I'm going to say running back. I mean, Cameron Otis-Payne, great guy.
He's going to get a look.
Works really hard.
He needs an honest look.
He's going to look really good in the third preseason game, just like he does it all the time. And then we're going to be like, oh, thank God. But I think that they get a running back. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey can do it all. But they could get help. Okay, bye.
Josh?
Mic drop.
I think defensive tackle would be my answer, and that's not really an exciting one. Certainly not sexy, but it's like...
It makes a lot of sense.
They don't have... You look at this team, and you're like, oh, but they have KK Short, they have Dontari Poe, they have Kyle Love, but they are... So everybody talks about... I don't know, I think I just cracked my knuckle directly into the microphone, so professional. That was the spike great. Right there on the old audio feed.
We'll make sure that gnats pop. TV term. Write it down.
I don't understand.
Make sure that gnats pop really gets popping.
Okay, all right, I like that. I think that when you look at if they want to go to a little bit more of a 3-4 that Ron Rivera's talking about, they don't have the personnel for it right now. And they brought in Alan Bailey for a visit from the Chiefs, and he left without a deal. I think they want they want another like 3 technique, another big guy that can get down there and move the pile during the run and take up some blocking, and they just do not have that. It's like it's K1 Short starting opposite Brian Cox Jr. Like that's
yeah. I mean, not only the transition into the 3-4, but then you talk about quarterback pressure, and edge is the most important part of that, but you need that push up front, and that was part of the problem last year too. I mean, where do you think they might go for D-tackle? Could you see them getting a D-tackle in round 1?
I think that's Jerry Tillery. I think is a guy that makes a lot of sense for them. I think Christian Wilkins from Clemson, everybody would be really excited about that here in Carolina. But I think that if you are going to go, to me, it's interesting because you can really. The fun thing about the draft is less about exactly who they're going to pick. Some years it's just who they're going to pick, but sometimes you can really tell the direction of a team depending on which way they go. So if they go with Jerry Tillery or Christian Wilkins, especially if one of these other guys like Brian Burns is still on the board, that says to me like, hey, we're going whole hog into 3-4 and be ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's a fun kind of wrinkle that you can see.
Now, Kelsey said running back. They've said, there's all this lip service about, we need to get Christian more help. He played 91% of snaps. That's insanely high. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott was like 83 as the next highest. But like, how committed are they to actually getting a decent guy that can come in and help him?
I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like Ron was saying that from like week 10 on.
Yeah.
Because I think Ron is, he's hilarious. He knows that something is a storyline, so he'll beat around the bush and just be like, well, I don't know, Cameron Arch-Payne gonna get an honest look, and he was saying, we got to get Christian off the field, and then Christian would proceed to play 100% of the snaps.
Hey man, I mean, if he's doing what he's doing, you don't need to get him off the field. Maybe a little bit, but not. I would.
It's tough. It's
high 80s maybe.
It's tough because it's like, do you just run him? I don't want to say run him into the ground because he's fine now.
It's been durable.
3 years. He may be. That's when they start to wear down.
Yep. Okay, your trust level in Marty Herney, Ron Rivera in the draft is blank %.
Oh man, I don't know, like 80%. I feel like Marty Herney has really done a nice job in the last couple of years of especially in the draft. I really like the way that he's gone about it. Really let the board come to him, which I think is what good GMs do, rather than fall in love with one prospect. And I do think that they have, I mean, you can't argue with Marty Herney's hit rate in the first round. And that's the most important thing, is you can't necessarily win the league in the first round, but you can certainly lose. And if you are going out there and putting up busts, which Herney has not done, I think you're looking at that's how you win. So DJ, the last 2 years, or last year, I guess, was Herney's first draft. But you look at DJ Moore, Dante Jackson, for you to go out and get a starting corner at 55 is really an impressive move to me. And they knew it as soon as they brought him in. So I think I'm confident, but the draft is really hard. Like, even no matter how well you think you have these guys scouted, if somebody tears their ACL in week 1 of minicamp, you have a terrible draft class, and it's not really your fault. So it's tough. But I am confident in Marty and Ron going into the draft.
We don't know what they know from, medical stuff, but if Montez Sweat is sitting there at 16, are you comfortable taking him?
So, no, I'm not. I don't see it. Like, okay, so Montez Sweat is really fast at the 40.
Yeah.
And he was good. He flashed at times. But for me, if I'm the Carolina Panthers and I have Cam Newton with his last 2 years on his contract, I have Luke Kuechly who's getting a little bit older, my team is kind of like, we're in the window and maybe the end of the window.
Right.
Maybe
Well, if you're Ron and Marty, you could very well be at the end of the window.
Exactly. And for Montez Sweat, this is a guy that I think could come out and be really good. It reminds me a little bit, and I'm going to steal my friend Vincent's point about him. He reminds me a little bit of Vic Beasley, who was really, really good for the Falcons. But then once the league kind of caught up to him and figured him out, he didn't have that next level to say, okay, how can I adjust my game? It was like all athleticism all the time. And so I think that Montez Sweat might be good, but he might not be good. And I'm very safety oriented, and I'm not willing to take that chance with the 16th pick, especially not if they have now medical issues.
How many drafts have you covered now?
This will be my third draft.
Okay. So I mean, based on, what you've looked at over the years and what you've noticed, these top 30 visits, like how much should that tell us about what they might even do in that first round, positionally or personnel wise, like the actual guys themselves? Like how much? I'm making my own mock draft, and I want to know if he visited, are they taking him?
Who do you like in the mock draft? I'm excited.
I like the Dillard kid.
Yeah,
me too. And I think they do too.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning. I don't know if he's going to be there in 16, but guess what? It's our mock draft. I think he's going to be there in the second round.
The Raiders are going to screw up, and it's going to make Dillard available. But like, how much does that tell us about what they might do?
I do think the top 30 visits has something, certainly can give you kind of an eye into what they are looking at. You look at, they brought in the top 5 tackles. That says to me they're looking at tackle. Yeah. They also brought in the top 5 edge rushers. So it seems pretty obvious those are the guys that they're leaning towards the most. And I do think they have a penchant for taking guys that they have brought in for a visit at some point, whether it's in the first round, second round, third round. The other thing is that we don't know how many visits they have or who they visit with. Mm-hmm. It's a weird business of being like one of the draft people that tracks like top 30 visits. Yeah. It's like a lot of Instagram story stalking.
Right, and like, hey, I was in Charlotte. I ate at Soul Food.
Exactly. It's like, I saw Andre Dillard tag Bojangles on Instagram. He's probably in a southern city right now. Yeah. So it's a weird feeling, and they may have brought in, we don't know. We just assume these are the guys they've met with, but it's like, who knows? Maybe they did 29 visits. I think there were 17 or 18 recorded. Who knows? Those 11 all may have been first-round quarterbacks, and we just missed them. That's not what I'm saying. Just to be clear. Don't cut this out. Don't. So
quarterback first 3 rounds,
exactly,
for sure.
All 3.
Yeah.
Don't radio me and just put like Josh Klein says they've met with 11 quarterbacks. Yeah, I'm just gonna
tweet the soundbite and just like as clickbait, and then So technically, I posted all their comments.
Gotta get them clicks, baby.
Okay, so David Tepper, what do you think his involvement is going to be, or what has it been?
I think he's going to be pretty involved. I think David Tepper is a guy that likes owning a football team. He seems pretty hands-on, and you were at the Ron and Marty presser last week, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody asked about how involved he was. Oh, look at you.
It was me.
A synergy.
That's why I asked you the question.
I mean,
but it's super fascinating to me.
You saw that big smile on Ron's face,
right? He wanted to say so. I should have been like, Ron, do you have thoughts on it? Because the whole time Marty was going on about it, Ron was just smiling. So I think that means like, David's been in all the time about this.
Don't you picture Dave Tepper as like the kind of guy that's just like texting Marty like, hey, what do you think about this Dillard kid?
Yeah, just sending him Facebook links and stuff like like your parents do. Like, did you see this?
Yeah. Oh, I saw this hype video of Darrell Henderson from Memphis. He looks good. Sure. That seems like how he is, but I think he's going to be super involved. Mm-hmm. He's definitely going to. I'm sure it would be. Blow me over with a feather if he's not at Bank of America Stadium tomorrow night. Oh, sorry, did I peel back the curtain? It's Wednesday.
No, it's fine. This will air on Thursday morning, but that's fine. The draft is Thursday night.
Tonight. If he's not at Bank of America Stadium during the draft, I would imagine he'll want to say something to the crowd that's there. He owns a football team. Like, what would you do if you owned a football? I'd be right smack in the middle of the war room being like, I don't like that kid. Yeah. That kid stinks. We're not drafting a kid from Duke. I almost cursed, but I'm not gonna.
Shuffling their draft board around, making them super anxious.
Exactly.
Okay, Josh, what are you guys doing for the draft? You guys got a lot going on Thursday.
Yeah,
which is today.
The Roaring Riot, today. The Roaring Riot has a ton of cool stuff going on. So they're doing. We're doing a 2 states, 1 party across all of North and South Carolina. So we're going to have gatherings. We have gatherings at every place that a Roaring Riot chapter is around North Carolina, but Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, upstate, which is Greenville, Spartanburg, and then Columbia. We've got a DJ. We're doing giveaways. There are special guests. There's all kinds of cool stuff that's going on during the draft itself. And then in Charlotte, so obviously the Panthers are having a draft party at Bank of America Stadium. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to try and compete with that. And what do? We want people to go to the stadium and get hype and be part of the crowd. So Roaring Riot is going to do what they do best, and that's going to throw a tailgate before a Panthers event. So from 5 o'clock tonight at the Roaring Riot tailgate spot right across from Draft on Cedar should be, hundreds, if not thousands of people
Tens
out
of
there.
thousands
I would
of
say
people.
tens of thousands. It's a mock. It's a mock tailgate. So yeah, tens of thousands.
Let's mock the tailgate party.
Yeah.
And the Roaring Riot Foundation, man, this is really cool. You guys announced it the other day.
Yeah.
Totally like blew me away with what you guys are doing. Like I did not expect that, and I just think it's awesome. So fill us in on that.
Yeah, so the Roaring Riot Foundation is awesome. So if you don't know, the Roaring Riot has essentially two core competencies. One is to bring Carolina Panthers fans together to cheer on the Panthers. The second one is to raise money for charity. And so over the past few years, all of the tailgates that you've attended, if you've been a Roaring Riot member, any sort of event that we've had have always been with an eye towards charity. So our tailgate is called Tailgate with a Purpose. All of the money that we sell drinks for, all of that goes directly to one of our charity partners over the years. We've worked with the Isabel Santos Foundation, Operation Smile. There was a playground built in Nepal, the Cam Newton Foundation over the past few years. And so we decided this year that we would begin our own foundation. It's going to be called the Roaring Riot Foundation, and our goal is to, and our mission, is to provide our fellow fans in need with once-in-a-lifetime experiences revolving around the Carolina Panthers. So we have already been doing these things a little bit over the past few years. I'm sure you're familiar with Coach Braylon Beam. We worked with him and sent him down to Jacksonville in 2015, I think. Got to go to the game with us and hang out, and for he and his family. And it can be the in-need part, we really left that open-ended. So it can be somebody that has fallen ill. It can be one of our members last year. Her husband suddenly passed away. She had never been to Bank of America Stadium.
Yes,
so
I remember
we put
that.
everything together. Yep. We brought Lynn to Charlotte, worked with the Panthers, and it was supposed to be a stadium tour. Instead, it ended with Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Stewart, and Fozzie Whitaker singing "Lean on Me." So it's those kind of experiences that we can provide for just Panther fans around the country and around the world that are in need of something. Maybe it's just a little bit of help, maybe it's a lot of help, but we want to be able to provide that. So all of our tailgate proceeds are going to go towards that this season and going forward. And in addition, we're going to be matching the first $5,000 worth of donations. So if you go to roaringriotfoundation.org and donate some money, we will match that 100%.
Awesome, man. I mean, you guys do such a great job with just boosting the kind of profile of this fan base, the way you guys have worked with Cam Newton, some of the players, the franchise, the shirts you've got one on now. And not only that, but the stuff you do, bringing legitimate reporting to the fan base is just really cool. And I think it's super unique. And tell us where people can check you guys out, your Twitter handle and the website and all that stuff.
All kinds of stuff. So you can check out the Roaring Riot. They're at Roaring Riot or roaringriot.com. You can check out the Riot Report, which is our fully credentialed media site that I am the managing editor of. That's at theriotreport.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @RRiotReport. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Klein Rules, and I do rule, and that is an 8th grade Twitter.
Absolutely.
Handle, basically.
So we can look forward to Josh Klein's mock draft 53.0 at some point.
Absolutely.
Today.
So I put out a mock. One of the things we talked about was like the dumbest thing. I put out this I love to make fun of mock drafts because I think they're so dumb. So I put out this morning. I tweeted out mock draft 16 Quinnen Williams, 47 Brian Burns, 77 Jonah Williams, 115 Kyler Murray, and people were like, "Can't believe you picked a quarterback."
Right.
And people were reacting well, Brian Burns will never fall that far.
Right. You're like, no,
guys, I can't even
You can't. You just can't on the Twitter. You just can't with people.
You got to put a
they
sarcasm filter on there.
Right, there needs to be
a sarcasm font. I think would really go.
I think that's a good idea. We should let's just delete this and do a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, exactly. Cut off the pod right before I say that. Just harm omitted.
Appreciate it, Josh. All right, special thanks to Josh Klein from the Roaring Riot and Riot Report for joining us. Kelsey, welcome back. How was the show?
Thank you. Special thanks to me for coming back to finish this with you because I could have left you hanging.
All right. And by the way, we're doing this on Wednesday night when we should be watching the Hurricanes game and a car chase. So hopefully both of those things ended well.
Gotta go bye.
All right. Enjoy. Hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to have all your Panthers draft needs covered tonight on NBC Charlotte and WCNC.com. Here we go. Pick 16. Woo!
Woo!